Hey everybody, this is Cedric from Bandite and welcome to this exciting tutorial about digital lighting, which is an illuminating guide into the world of lighting in 3D. So hey everybody. So why now? Why this? Why are you asking? Or hey, you want to know something about lighting? So the next step would be to jump right into it. It's been a while since I made a tutorial or a guide. I'm sorry for that. It's been extremely busy. But yeah, let's jump into it. Enough intro. Let's go to the next slide, because I have a fancy presentation for you guys. So, shedding some light on the situation. Yeah, this is going to be filled with puns. I hope you're prepared. Why am I making a guide about lighting? It's because, it's kind of a topic that's very important to me for a couple of reasons. I'm a lighting artist, as well as a VFX artist at the moment, but especially a lighting artist. And lighting always has been for me one of the most important parts of the process. And I will show you why. Most of the times when people enter a competition, whether it's small or a big one, or people are showing renders on forums or on like ArtStation or anything, especially people like beginners who already show some skill and already have some skill, they make one vital mistake. And that's most of the renders look like this. They are gray, they are not very interesting to look at, and it might be shaded perfectly, it might be modeled perfectly, it might be the most interesting scene in the viewport, but once you render it out, it looks kind of bland, and you don't know why, and it can be frustrating, I know, because if you put a lot of effort, of course this is a scene with a sphere and like just a plane, but if you put a lot of effort into something and the render doesn't look great, it can be really frustrating and demotivating. So a solution for this is lighting. Lighting is like this. One of the most important parts, in my opinion. It's part of the pipeline, right? Because people always talk about modeling, people always talk about sculpting, shading, texturing, but they never talk about lighting. And it's kind of it's kind of an important part there, guys. A lot of people forget this, and it's just an easy fix. Like people follow tutorials for shading. I've also made some shading tutorials, and they will model something great because they followed a good model tutorial, or they sculpted something very nice, but they render it out, and it's just it doesn't look great, and that's a shame. So I'm gonna, for this part, I'm just gonna put you through some very basic examples, like what are the most common mistakes, and after that we'll jump into more practical examples in the following tutorials. So for the examples, Cinecat Pro provided me with a very nice looking sculpt, and I rendered out that sculpt here with a single point light, and although the sculpt looks good, Cinecat did a very nice job on that. Thanks, by the way, again for lending me the sculpt there. It looks good, but it doesn't look impressive. And that's not the fault of the sculptor. And that might demotivate somebody because, it's just, okay, it looks good. I did some basic shader thing, but it doesn't look great. And why doesn't it look great? And we can, by applying very simple rules, by applying very simple, these are not even tricks or cheats. These are, every photographer learns these rules. Every CG artist who goes through a decent education learns this. If we just apply the simple 3-point lighting system to this sculpt, we'll get something like this. And this already looks way more interesting. This defines a silhouette. This shows detail in the darker areas. This has a key light. This shows some contrast. And this is already way more interesting. This is the exact same shader, the exact same setup. There are no HDRIs, nothing. And it just looks way more interesting. And that's because I lighted it. I lighted it properly. And I didn't even think about this lighting. Like this uses a 3-point lighting system, which consists of a key light, which comes from like over here, and it illuminates the subject. This is a fill light that kind of shows the darker areas and doesn't make the contrast between the light and the dark too big. And it has a rim light, which defines the edges. It even has 2 rim lights, I think, like one over here and one over here, that just illuminates the edge. And it makes everything more interesting, shows a little bit of definition in the model. And yeah, this looks way more interesting. But of course, the 3-point lighting system is not the only system you can use. By the way, I will show you practically how to do this later on. I'm just going through these examples rather quick to already give you an idea where we're going. So this is the simple 3-point lighting system, but there are like other lighting methods. For example, you can go low key, which is very little lighting. I think these are 1 or 2 lights. There might be a fill here, which doesn't show a lot, but it tells more of a story. It makes it mysterious, dramatic, and it does show like detail because lighting comes from a very interesting angle. Excuse me. And yeah, it has a rim, but it doesn't have like the key and the fill in front of it. It has a little bit of fill to illuminate it a little bit, so not to make it black. Like we do kind of want to see something in here. But yeah, it already looks way more interesting than the first image I showed you, because this has some interesting lighting. We can also go high key, which is which also has like the key and the fill, but they illuminate way more and has some extra lights that fill up like the darker parts. And this shows a lot more detail. This shows like if you really want to brag about your sculpting or your modeling, then high key is the way to go. It shows off your shading skills, it shows off your stuff, and it presents like against a dark background, for example here, it really shows the silhouette here, which is also a very interesting aspect compositing wise. So yeah, but we can go even further than this. Lighting doesn't only show details or hide details, but lighting tells a story. In our next example, I've added some like a very simple duotone between warm and cold lighting, and like in between there's comes some transfer. I think these are like 7 lights or something, and they all play with the shadows, and they brings a very storytelling. Like it looks like he's at night and the moon is shining on his baldness here, and he's sitting by a fire, and it looks cozy. He looks like a warrior, and it tells a story, and it makes like, and this is very simple. This lighting is not like hours of work. I made these in 10 minutes each. And these are very simple like examples, and they already show way more interesting like stories or details than the first image. Like the next image, for example, is like I have lights under the sculpt, which make it mysterious and which make it look like, yeah, I don't know, a dark wizard. Like, or a friendly wizard, I don't know. It looks kind of angry. But yeah, and I played with the complementary colors of green and pinkish. And these are, like I said, these are very simple rules. These are very basic principles I applied to make something like this way more interesting. And this not only applies to sculpts of busts, this applies to full character renders, this applies to scene renders, this applies to if you want to showcase a portfolio with things you modeled, or if you want to make an animation movie, or if you want to make like an end product, an end render, lighting is very important. So now we're going to go over the most common mistakes I personally see. I'm on supervising a challenge on Facebook, which has a lot of entries. I also people know that I'm active on Facebook and that I'm in all the groups, and I give feedback where I can, and I communicate with people that I can. But these are mistakes I see made a lot. Going to the first mistake here, a very basic scene here, the range too low. So this kind of applies to our first example, where people will not add like strong lights or extra lights, and we'll just like, yeah, okay, you can see the subject, so it's good, and I will not bother with the lighting anymore. And if your range doesn't go from black to all the way white, like, I think every render, but this is personal, I think every render should have one complete white point and one complete black point at some point. And sure, you can fix this in Photoshop, and a lot of people do, but you lose a lot of detail that way. You actually are crushing channels, and that's not good. But again, the more technical, practical stuff we'll get into later. But a simple fix here is just to intensify the light, give it some extra fill, and you can see here, this already looks way more interesting. This already draws way more the attention of the eye. The light is on the subject, the background is left a little bit darker, just so that there is a contrast between the subject and the background. And yeah, it goes from like these crevices, they are black, and like under here it's very dark gray, but the highlights here, they are complete whites without like, do be careful about you have a little fault here where the whites start crushing each other, and then yeah, it kind of flats out. But I mean, it's an example. But yeah, using the entire range already improves your image, and this can be fixed with lighting, and this should preferably be fixed with lighting, not compositing or post-production or anything. No, you should already do this in lighting, so that the compositor, or if you're doing yourself like post-production, have a full range to work with as well. That's always handy. The next thing is relying too much on HDRIs. This is one of the more, the most common quote-unquote mistake. And this already, So I've been trained, let's start at the beginning. I've been trained with the idea that HDRIs, or they used to be reflection maps, are there to give, like Suzanne here, a reflection. Like every metallic... That was a strange noise. Every metallic shader, every metallic object should have something to reflect, or it will not look metallic. If I didn't have like an HDRI, it would not look metallic. But a lot of tutorials lately show like techniques how to light with an HDRI, and especially in ArcViz, architecture visualization, a lot of people will just like add one HDRI. It will light their scene, and people think they're done. And that's just simply not the case. And sometimes it looks better than this. But I'm of the opinion that adding more lights, like this scene has 3 added lights. It has a key light that comes from here, with shadows, and it has 2 fills, kind of a bluish fill and an orange fill, which kind of brings some interesting duotones with the color of the HDRI. And it looks way more interesting. And your metallic shader has something to reflect, but your diffuse things also have some contrast in them and look awesome. The third mistake I want to talk about is thinking realistic, and this is actually something that a lot of artists and even people who give tutorials within 3D communities, and especially the Blender community, is that everything should be physically based. And I agree, up to lighting. I don't think lighting should be considered physically based. You shouldn't think oh, there's no light coming from here, so there is no light, because it looks boring. This is like a globe that emits light, and this is already washed out white, just because I had to push the intensity so much, and this still looks kind of boring and kind of faint. You can't really see the difference here, and compositing wise, all the attention is here and there's no attention over here. But simple adding 3-point lights already brings so much more interest to the scene. I've added 1 point light within the sphere that ignores the sphere but illuminates the rest of the scene. I added another point light over here that kind of transfers it smoothly toward the bluish fill, and I've added a blue fill over here that contrasts with the orange light, and this already looks way more interesting. Especially with renders for characters, creative things, and as well as ArcViz, everything. If you want it to look nice, lighting is the way to go, because you can choose what color has, and you don't have to do a lot of post-production this way. and this just looks way more interesting. So, to lighten the mood a bit, I don't want to point you all to your mistakes. We are gonna fix those mistakes. We're gonna, I'm gonna learn you to step by step how to approach lighting, a scene, how to approach lighting a character, and just in general, making sure that your renders look awesome without like cheating or hacking. We're just gonna go old school lighting, and we're also gonna go through color theory and just like what does it mean to light and why should I pick a certain color to light? What should I be careful of? What are the dangers of lighting, and what are the epiphanies and the awesome stuff in lighting? So yeah, that's basically what we'll learn. I jumped one slide ahead. I'm still gonna look into I've kind of have already my first and second tutorial that will follow on this, but dependently on how people will react to this and what people want to learn, I'm gonna be very flexible in what my tutorials are going to be about. So this is not going to be a fixed course for now. Once the course is complete, of course, it will be fixed because, yeah, it's been recorded and everything. But I will not do this in one go. This also will be completely free on YouTube. I will not, this will not be a paid course or anything, but it will just be you and me just lighting our way to awesome renders. So yeah, in the next part, we're gonna already discuss some technical stuff, and I'm just gonna show you the kinds of lights you have. So people who are watching this who are not familiar with Blender, I will be using Blender because it's a free package, and lighting, like this kind of guide, is especially for beginners and people, hobbyists, or people who are just starting out. And I think Blender, as a free and a very small package compared to Maya, 3ds Max, and other stuff like Cinema 4D, I think Blender is the way to go if you're starting out. But this course is not exclusive to Blender. Everything you'll learn here will be applicable in all 3D packages, and even be applicable in 2D packages, or just in general. If you want to do something, it will be even applicable in real life maybe. Although that might be a bit harder. So yeah, I want to thank Syndicate Pro again for lending me a sculpt. Giving him another shout out. How are you doing, Syndicate? And of course, subscribe to our channel if you want to keep updated on this course. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys for watching this video. As I said before, subscribe for more videos. You can also check out my other channel where I complain about life. As I said, it's been a while since I made my last tutorial because I've been very busy. If you want to know what I've been busy with, I do have a personal vlog. Because I need somebody to shout out. But yeah, for the rest, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, ask away. Don't be afraid to ask questions or to give suggestions on what we should do next. And I'll see you next time. Thank you!